wait for somebody to pop on, hopefully.
Is this Facebook?
It's on the Build the Scene Facebook page. And I shared it on DI Records Pittsburgh and First Angel Media and a couple groups. Oh, we'll go with it. Hey, it's Bill, and you're tuned into the Pennsylvania Rock Show, featuring the best unsigned rock and metal that Pennsylvania has to offer right here on PARockshow.com, megarockradio.net, buildthescene.com, rootaroo.radio.com, xrpradio.co.uk, and altrockradio.ca. And we're also featured in St. Louis, Missouri on 107.1 FM St. Louis. My name is Bill. With me tonight is Jim from the Meatlocker Recording Studio and Meathook. This is episode 516. What's up, Jim?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I think it's really, really cool to see you in the control room while we're doing this. That's awesome.
Yeah, we just got done recording a band.
So I think we'll start off with some questions about the recording studio, and then we'll talk about Meathook a little bit later, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
So clearly the first question that comes to mind is the cliche question that I usually ask bands is, where did the name of the studio come from?
Well, okay, this building is an old Meatlocker building. All these behind me, all in the studio here, all these, the live room, the drum room, and all the rooms back here. In the room I'm sitting in too, actually was a cooler. And they had beef, and people brought their beef in here, their deer, and everything else. And there was a bunch of lockers back here, and people stored all their meat in the lockers, and that's how I got the name Meatlocker.
How long did that conversion take? I imagine getting those coolers out of there wasn't an easy job.
Well, no, these are still coolers. I'm sitting in a cooler.
Oh, it is? It's still in there?
These are all coolers. That's a cooler. That's an all wood cooler back there where the drum room is. And it's all wood ceiling, the floor, everything. There's insulation. The floor is insulated. All the walls are insulated, like 10 inches thick. So if I have a band,
so there's no bleed through.
Super loud. I mean, you can't even hear it outside. Yep. So this is an old Meatlocker building. Yep.
I feel like listening to the Grassroots show, I feel like I've heard that Anger the Ant has recorded there. Yep. Who are some other local bands that we might be familiar with that have been in the studio?
Frank Russo, he was just here. He just left. The Frank Russo band. Chris Bueller, he came in here before. A bunch of people. I had people from the Colgate Country Showdown. I had maybe 3 or 4 people come in from, that place that the radio station sent me to record a couple songs. Just a bunch of different bands around here, around the area.
Have you had anyone from? I always struggle on what to call them. Any majors come in and record anything?
Not really. Not yet. Hopefully soon.
Well, maybe they'll be bored tonight and they'll see us talking. They're like, "That's awesome. Let's go record in the Meatlocker." I mean, because the one thing that this whole situation is doing is it's leveling the playing field. If you look on Facebook, you see local bands doing live streams, and you see people that are in those bands that you think of. Like, I saw Paul Stanley doing a live stream, and it's leveling the playing field. I know the one thing the musicians are going to want to ask when they pop in, they're going to ask you about some of the equipment that you have available there. Is there anything special that you have that they would be interested in knowing about?
Well, we record on Pro Tools. The newest one's always up to date. 2020. I mean, we have some neat hardware. I mean, I have a couple 1176 compressors, have all kind of plug-in. I mean, I have probably 400, 500 plugins that I mix with. Yeah, but there's a couple things like the Bluey up here, this one here. A lot of things that you heard in the 70s. I mean, all the vocals in the 70s, most of them were recorded with that compressor right there. So there's a bunch of little things around here that people would like. Yep.
I wish that this is the first time that that I started doing the video that I wish the people that will be just listening to the actual podcast won't be able to see what I'm looking at. The view, like I can see the drum room, I can see the live room.
Yeah.
They're gonna miss out on that. And see the console.
Yeah.
Now
we can mix live here. I mean, record live because we have all the separate rooms. We have a drum room, a live room here. We have a vocal booth. And everybody, most of the time, we do try to record live, and I try to keep everything, that sounds good on that take. And I think it sounds. I mean, that's the way they always recorded in the 70s and 80s. I think it, or even before then, really. But I think it, when everyone's playing together, I think it sounds great, and we're able to do that in this studio.
Now, how did you get started in the recording business?
Well, I always played in bands. I mean, it goes back 40 years probably. I mean, I've been in bands since high school. I probably started recording 35 years ago at least on 4 tracks. And I went to 8 tracks. And then I went to 24 tracks. Now I'm into Pro Tools. And we've been on Pro Tools probably for 10 years at least here.
So I saw a meme earlier tonight on Facebook that really applies to this interview. And it was, if you could be in the studio during any album that was recorded in history, what album do you wish you were in the actual studio to witness the recording of?
Any Led Zeppelin album.
That was fast. My guess is if I ask you who you'd like to go back in time and watch for a year, you're probably going to say Led Zeppelin again. Yeah. From that reaction.
I mean, Van Halen would do, but Led Zeppelin would be my favorite.
If you could sit on that proverbial bench for an hour and talk to anyone in the history of music and ask them one question, what question would you ask them and who would it be? See, that one's a little harder.
Well, I don't know. Probably Jimmy Page. I don't know. I'd ask him, say, how did you get started? I know he was a studio musician in the beginning, but I'd probably ask him a couple questions like that, how he got started. And yep.
So you said you started playing in bands when you were in high school?
Yep.
Back in high school, could you imagine yourself doing what you're doing now?
Nah. Well, I mean, not really. But once you're in music, I think you can get hot. Once you're just stuck with it. I mean, I went to Mars High School, so we had bands in Mars, bunch of kids together. I used to hang around on the north side of Pittsburgh too. I played around there all the time, Riverview Park and all over the place around there. And then I started playing in Butler, Freeway, Taurus, Undercover Band. We played all around. I don't know if anyone, Tony Russo, he used to be our singer. But yeah, it was always rock and roll, and that's what we did. I always had a little studios somewhere set up in a basement or something. And I started this probably at least 20 years ago here.
Do you remember who the first band was that you recorded?
Oh boy. Not really. I know I recorded my sister's band a bunch of times, a Tara Charles band, and that was probably 30 years ago. Yeah, but I recorded other bands. I just can't remember. I'd have to look it up.
The first time I had a mixer in my house and had anything to do with recording it, was the second Pennsylvania Rock Show, which would have been September 21st, 2004. And thankfully there were people here that actually knew how to run the mixer. but I guess officially that's the first time I ever recorded anything. But it was a live mix, and it wasn't really one band. There were a bunch of people from different bands, and they just kind of played covers because we didn't know you couldn't do that. But I do have a question in the chat for you. Tim Doverspike, who is in the band Unbroken Soul, would like to know where the studio is located and if you have a website or Facebook that he could check out.
Yeah, I have both, website and Facebook, and we're right in the city of Butler. Right in the city on Brady Street. And
the website is Meatlocker a recording studio.
Yeah, no, just meatlockerrecording.com. And then I have a Facebook, Meatlocker Recording.
And both of those are actually in, I already have them linked in the show notes. So Tim, when Friday rolls around, you'll be able to click on the show and click the links to get to them.
Right.
So what I'd like to do now is kind of make that switch over to talking to the band about the band.
Okay.
And to do that, I don't know which song I'm going to play yet because I just had that conversation with you right before we went live. Which song would you prefer I played, and can you tell us a little story about it?
A bunch of them, I don't know. Well, you could play The Cap. That's by the Butler Boys. That was a band I was in before Meathook. But you could probably play a couple of Meathook songs too. But The Cap,
I could do one of each if you want. Since they're different bands, I can play them both one hour.
I wrote The Cap. They play it on 97.7 a lot.
That's a great station. I love those guys.
It is. But anyway, I wrote that song about when me and my wife met for the first time, and it's a hard rock song, but it's a good song. Yep, and it's about us. I met her when Undercover was playing, and it's a long story, but she was in the audience, and we were playing, and she came up, and she was sitting there, and I said, "Hey, I'm going to walk over to that girl and see if she wants to drink." I said, "Do you want to drink?" And she said, "Not out of that bottle after you guys been drinking all." So I poured the drink.
That was probably the right response.
Yeah. Cap and gave it to her. But yeah.
Now I get it. The Cap. Did you want me to play a Meathook song as well?
Yeah, maybe Better Off Over.
Okay. And what's that one about?
Just the way it sounds, I think. Sean, our other guitar player, he wrote the song. And I guess it was about a girl that he was with, and he just thinks it was better off over.
There are probably lots of those stories for lots of people. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a break and listen to those two tracks, and we'll come back with Jim. For those of you that are listening live, you're going to have to go to the website on Friday or to one of the stations that I mentioned to hear the music. The rest of us will get quiet here for a second, and then we'll come back in as if we're starting the next segment. Okay, that was The Cap by the Butler Boys, and was better off
Over by
better off.
Meathook.
There you go. Thank you. And with me is Jim from the Meathook Recording Studio and Meatlocker Recording Studio and Meathook. You want to tell me? I think I read where the Meathook band name came from, but do you want to? And I probably read into it too.
Came from the Meatlocker. Well, okay, back there you can't see it here, but in the drum room I have, well, even in the live room, there's some original Meathooks, and they're hanging up back there. And we were all playing one day, and someone said, "Why don't we just name?" I think it was Chris Compton, our drummer, and he said, "Why don't we name it Meathook?" And it just stuck. That's what we did.
Sorry, my daughter walked in. I named a hockey team like that one time, but we ended up with a bad name. We were called Deckburn.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, how like clearly there's some symmetry going on there between the band and the studio. Like, how did you guys all meet? Is there a story that involves the studio?
Well, me and Derek Reap, he's the bass player. We've been playing for, let me see. Well, okay, I've been married 33 years, so I've been playing with Derek probably 35 years. I mean, he was an undercover with us, so I knew Derek already. Chris Compton, I just know him as a really good drummer, and he used to play with my sister, and we jammed before, so I called Chris. And Sean Schaefer, he's actually my cousin, and he plays guitar. He's the other guitar player. He's the guy that sings most of the songs too. So the song "Better Off Over," he sang that song, and that's how we.
Cool. Now I'm going to hit some of those crazy questions that I alluded to before we came on live.
Okay.
If you were in the movie Rockstar, the one that's loosely based on Judas Priest,
okay,
where the lead singer of the tribute band ends up fronting the band, what band would you end up playing guitar in? So what band would you like to be in a tribute band for, and then eventually end up being in that band?
Deep Purple.
Which version?
The first version.
If you were going to be in a cartoon, what cartoon character would play you?
Oh boy.
See, this question's great because I didn't come up with it. This is from Christina from the band The Shadow Event, who's going to be on the show on June 5th. That gave me a moment to mention her upcoming show with me.
Let me think here. I don't know. George Jetson.
Nice. Wasn't that based? Like, we're already past the year that was based in, aren't we?
Yeah.
I don't think it looks like that yet.
Nah.
Although the other day I did see there are shoes that tie themselves. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute. They run on a Bluetooth app. I don't think I'm ready for that. But if they were going to make a rockumentary about you, who would play you in that movie?
I have no idea. I'd say Brad Pitt, but my wife would probably laugh.
We'll go with it.
Yeah.
And I won't put you on the spot and ask you who supported you the most as a musician, so you don't have to. If let's see, if you ended up on an international tour where you're headlining, what two local bands would you take with you to open the show for you?
Maybe After the Fall. Take them. Let me think who else I'd take.
Those guys go way back to the beginning of my show.
Maybe Donnie Iris. I know he's older, but maybe him.
You'd definitely have a Pittsburgh following if you went out. Yeah, Matt was the person who provided me with the first big chunk of music that I used for the show. Mm-hmm. He showed up with a shopping bag full of CDs and said, "Here, play this stuff." And I went, "Well, don't I need to get permission from the bands?" He's like, "Just tell them that I gave it to you." And I went, "Okay." And to this day, all of them know that I'm playing their music, and none of them have complained. And since then, they have signed that release form that I sent you. But back then, we didn't have that.
Yep.
Let's see. On that international tour, what are some of the venues that you would like to play?
Well, Pittsburgh for sure. At least that would be my last stop on the way back. New York City, but not right now.
No, definitely not.
I don't know.
I was recently in New York City on a bus tour.
Oh yeah.
And we drove past the Garden. I was so excited. I'm like, "It's the Garden!" And then we were going. I was like, "Okay, I saw it, I guess." What is something embarrassing that's happened to you or a bandmate on stage that you wouldn't mind sharing?
Think about that. Well, I mean, there was one time, this 35 years ago at least. I think we were playing or there was a band playing at Oscar's Pub. You ever heard of that? It was a long time ago, but anyway, the band they saw me sitting in the audience and they called me up to play guitar, and I got up and we were drinking a little bit too much, and I kind of fell off the stage. I can remember. I got back up.
Those kinds of things, those are my favorite moments when I'm watching a band and they call someone up on stage from another band and they just jam together. I love that.
Yeah.
And not just with unsigned bands. I find myself sometimes, especially now when I have a lot more time on my hands, I'm on YouTube watching videos where the fans get to come up and play.
Yeah.
I don't know why. That's just something that intrigues me.
Yep.
That, and I love when a local band covers another local band.
Yeah.
Doppler Effect. I've heard them cover local bands. I've heard them be covered by local bands.
Oh, really?
Yep. You're familiar with that band, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, they're good.
I used to design their website. They don't have it anymore, but when they had it, that was one of mine.
Yeah.
I used to do After the Fall's website too.
Oh, really?
They also do not have one right now.
Huh.
Let me think. Oh, so this one kind of hits home, but I'm going to ask it anyway. If there's an apocalyptic event on the earth and only one song from every band survives, which song from Meathook should survive?
I think Better Off Over. I like that song. That's a good song. Yep.
During that international tour,
Uh-huh.
I tag along and I hang out with you guys in between all the stops in the different cities. What would the soundtrack to our travels include?
Hmm. I don't know. You mean from another band or?
Well, what would we be listening to while we were traveling?
Oh boy.
Basically, I'm looking for your influences.
Oh, Led Zeppelin, of course. Van Halen. Uh, Night Ranger. Uh, all the hard hitters from the 70s and 80s.
If you're just tuning in, I'm talking to Jim from Meathook and the Meatlocker Recording Studio in Butler. You can find them at meatlockerstudio.com. We talked a little bit about the studio, so if you missed that, you want to go back and listen to it on Friday when the show gets released. And now we're talking a little bit more about the band and about his influences, and whatever we feel like talking about at this point. What generally, I read on the website that you're by appointment only. Are there like general hours that you try and record with?
Well, it's by appointment. I do a lot of weekends, and then it's usually weekdays after 4 o'clock, and we usually quit about 10 on the weekdays. But on the weekend, sometimes we start at 10 in the morning. We don't get done till midnight. I mean, I've been here till. I mean, I don't like it, but if we're in the groove, I've been here till 2 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I don't like doing that, but the band's in the groove, and we're not going to leave. So, but yeah, it's by not only. I mean, we get to work around everybody's jobs and when the whole band can get together. So that's why it's by appointment only.
That's pretty much the same reason why this happens at 9 o'clock, because then
Yeah.
my kids have started to wind down and
Yeah.
they don't visit me as often. How would a band get a hold of you to schedule some time with you?
They can connect with me through Facebook or my website, or they could just call me at 724-283-4529 and leave a message, and I'll get back to them.
You can correct me if I'm wrong, but the Meatlocker Recording Studio has been sponsoring the Grassroots show from the very beginning, right?
Yep.
How did that happen? Like, did Utah walk in and say, "Hey, I have this idea," or did you know Bob?
Actually, before that show started, 97.7 was playing the songs that were recorded here, and they were playing them on the radio at that time. And then that came out, and I thought, oh, yeah. So I know Bob in Utah, and I contacted Bob, and I said, you know what, I'll spot, I want to put in my 2 cents, for the local music scene. So I said, I'll sponsor it for a while, and I really haven't quit since it started.
What are they up? They're up to like 5 years?
I think
6
so.
years, something like that.
Yeah.
It may be longer. I remember it starting, but time just kind of.
Yeah. About 5 years. Yep. Yep.
I think it was you and Rainbow at the beginning, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. That's a bar I don't mention on the show often.
Yeah.
Let me think. What has been your favorite venue that you've played at?
I like the band jam that's the one we've been playing at. I mean, we were supposed to play this year at it also, but hopefully we'll be playing at it next year again. That's my favorite. I mean, back in the day, I mean, we played at My People's Place, the Ribbit, Meridian Inn. I mean, all over the place, places that don't exist anymore. But nowadays, yeah, the band jam is a great place to play.
Yeah. Cooper's Lake.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is one song that you wish you wrote?
Well, there to heaven.
That's a fair choice. Everybody knows that song. If there was one thing that people don't know about you that they'd be surprised to know, what would you tell them? I've gotten some interesting answers with this question.
Let me see. I don't know. Oh, when I was in high school, my hair was down to here, under my waist.
I never had that.
Yeah.
As you can see, that has not been friendly to me. Have you met any of your music idols?
Not really. Well, I met Donnie Iris. I mean, he's from Pittsburgh. I met. I talked to the Outlaws. Not really, just mostly local people. I'd like to, but I haven't.
The only I've interviewed Cordell Crockett from Ugly Kid Joe on this show, and John Bechtel, who is the keyboardist for Ministry.
Okay.
They are both in unsigned bands as well. So, Cordell Crockett's in a band called Here Kitty Kitty out of LA.
Oh, yeah.
And John Bechtel, I can never remember the name of his band. They're from the Philadelphia area. I'm gonna have to look that one up before I bring it up again. I can see the album in my head. It has a green cover. I just can't remember name. Let me think. Is there anything that we haven't discussed that you'd like to tell the people that are listening?
Well, I know we're one of. There's other studios that do it too, but we strive here on playing live and recording. A lot of some studios can't do that, but
they do the tracking.
Right, tracking. But we do, and I think that's really what we're known for in recording the drums good and mixing drums good here. I actually have the drum room. I actually record the room sound itself as we're recording drums. So, and it sounds fantastic, but that's what we're known for here.
Now, I can see, and you mentioned in there that the drum room is wood, the walls. Yeah. Are all of the lockers wood lined or just that one?
No, just that one. Just that one. All the other ones are, that one right here has a drywall on it. Well, there's wood paneling back here, but that's the only one. And the one I'm sitting in, it's all padded out, for sound. And then we have the vocal booth, it's all padded out. But the drum, it actually has an echo to it. And then I put mics up in the corners, as when the drummer plays, and then I record the whole kit, and you could hear the reverb in the room. So it sounds
what was it? Were the walls lined with wood when you moved in, or did you? Okay.
They were, yep.
Because my follow-up question was going to be, what was there a reason? Like, is it a certain kind of wood or?
Uh, it's white pine, so it's a hard pine, and it's all polyurethane. The floor, the walls, the ceiling. I don't know the reason they did that, but I'm glad they did it.
Was it always the drum room, or did you, after recording a little while, figure out that that was where those needed to be?
Yes, it was after I recorded a while, and then we moved them back there. And then I couldn't believe the sound we were getting from the drums, so that was dedicated room for the drums.
That was sort of the same. Well, here when this show started, bands used to come here and play live in my living room, and really that's the only room large enough for that to happen. But the acoustics in this room are amazing, and I would have never guessed. Yeah. I mean, it's just not even drywall. Why can't I think what it's called?
Is it tongue and groove paneling or?
No, it's older than that. It doesn't matter. But it used this we have an apartment, a downstairs apartment, and it used to be a doctor's office. So the apartment we're in was the doctor's office, and the living room was the waiting room. So it's like it's like, I think we measured, I think it's 26 feet long and like 12 feet wide. So actually where I'm sitting right now is where the bands would start to set up, and they would go that way. But yeah, it was, we haven't done a live show here since my twin daughters were born in 2010, but for the first 6 years, that's how it worked. They came here, they played, we recorded and streamed it live.
Wow. That's pretty neat.
But see if I can come up with 2 more questions for you, and then I'll let you go. What, and I won't pin you down to one, but what are some of your favorite songs that have been recorded there?
Oh, there's a girl. I can't remember anyone's name. There's this one girl, boy, she sounded fantastic. She wrote all her own songs, and I actually brought the band in. You know, made up the band for her. Greta Sheltbrand. Boy, she was fantastic. Let me see her. Boy, I just don't want to say just a couple because there's so many.
I know, that's why I said I don't want to limit you to one.
Yeah, we'll just stick with that. She was great. She was young when she came here. I think she was 16, and she sounded great. And see, this is the point where I usually say, where's the band playing next? Yeah. That doesn't really work right now. We might do a live show from here.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I think we're going to, because we talked about it, and we're figuring out how to hook everything up right now, so we can. It's not just when we go Facebook Live, it's not going to be from the phone recorder. It's all going to be mixed on first. It's still going to be live, but it's all going to be mixed and coming out of the board.
So there's software called OBS. That you might want to look into.
Well, they ordered a little, I don't know, little machine. I don't know what it is. It's called Live Stream.
Okay.
IK Media or whatever, and you take the outs from your board, you plug it into that, and then that plugs into your phone.
Okay.
For that, but they said they're selling them so much right now. It's not even supposed to be in until the middle of June, so that's probably when we'll go live.
That's same scenario. I've been looking for a new webcam, and yeah, those are very hard to come by right now unless you want to pay triple what they're actually retailing at.
Yeah.
The one I'm using tonight is actually my landlord's. I have a sports camera that I've been using, and then we borrowed his webcam, and I was like, oh, this is so much better. I need one of these. But I do have one on its way. It's supposed to be here tomorrow. I get to do a product review on it. So I made sure I emailed them using my my build to scene email. So they could see that, like, if I review it, some people will actually hear about it. It's the first time I've ever done that in 15 years. Again, because I don't want to pay $150 for a webcam that cost $40. Well, I do want to thank you for coming on. And for those of you that are just catching the end, I am speaking with Jim from Meathook and the Meatlocker Recording Studio out of Butler. You can find his links to both his band and to the recording studio on the show notes at parockshow.com. Meatlockerrecording.com. If you are looking at the live stream, it's right at the bottom. I forgot I put it there. So this has been 516. Thanks again, Jim.
Okay, thank you.
And we're going to go listen to some more of the best rock and unsigned metal that Pennsylvania has to offer. Make sure you check us out each Friday. And just like normal, I did not pull my website up ahead of time, so I don't have that list in front of me. So I'm going to talk while it loads. And there it goes. It's parockshow.com or buildthescene.com. Upcoming guests on the 29th, which is next week, we have Nox Emesis. And then we have the Shadow event on the 5th of June, which I mentioned earlier. The Justin Wade Band on the 12th. Walker's K on the 19th. Hugh Twyman, they call him the godfather of Pittsburgh music blogging. Fubar on July 1st. Royal Honey on September 18th. If you are free for any of those dates, any dates that aren't on that list, you can send me an email at bill@buildthescene.com. And if we can't fit you in on that schedule, we also have our other podcast, 3 Questions and a Song. I'm not going to rattle off where that schedule on this show, but if you go to buildthescene.com/show/3QS, that will get you on 3 Questions and a Song, and you'll be able to see that. So once again, thanks for coming on. Make sure you check us out, and make sure you go to meatlockerrecording.com.